Hello everybody, welcome back to C&S Corvettes in Sarasota, Florida. This is your Corvette buddy Lyle, here to finish up what I started on last week about talking about the costs of Corvette ownership. And in the middle of my video last week I had said, yeah, C4s, we'll get back to those. And then I failed to get back to those, which is actually kind of good because C4s are kind of special when it comes to cost of ownership. So I'm glad I get to make a video just about them. Now, before we get started, please remember, if you find value in these videos, if you enjoy them, if I even make you laugh a little, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your Corvette friends about it so we can continue to grow the channel and bring you more interesting and helpful content. All right, so last week, overall view of average cost of Corvette ownership, and I kind of divided it up into antique cars being things like 82 and back, and modern cars being 97 and up. And I didn't intentionally omit C4s, but I think I intentionally omitted them because they're the whole thing that I want to discuss today. You know I love C4 Corvettes, and I know a lot of you love C4 Corvettes. The problem with C4 Corvettes is that the entry price, the price of admission, if you will, to owning a C4 Corvette can be tantalizingly low. You'll see 85s, 84s, 86s that are still running driving cars, but kind of rough for $2,500, $3,500. You're like, well, heck, I got $2,500, $3,500. I've always wanted a Corvette. I'm going to go buy one. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that mindset, mind you. The problem is if you only have the money it costs to buy the car, a C4 Corvette can be a giant vat of misery that you will never escape with your soul intact. There are so many facets to that car that can make it a nightmare if you aren't financially prepared to deal with it. Now remember, these cars are starting to push almost 40 years old. So the oldest of them. So I mean, we're not talking spring chickens here, guys. Some of the things I want to cover, just minor things. The 84 to like 87, 88 cars had 16-inch wheels on them, which at the time was like, dude, well, those are big wheels. You see how wide they are. Well, now they're like grocery cart wheels in the marketplace. So there aren't a lot of places, manufacturers, that are still making tires for those cars. And finding original tire sizes has become very, very difficult. Now, there are ways around that, in which case you could say, all right, the fronts were 245 millimeters wide. You can bump up to a 255, still have it fit under the car and work just fine, and maybe that will get you to where, okay, 6 tire manufacturers make that tire, where 0 make the 245 in the 16-inch. So there's ways around that. The other thing you can do is upgrade to more modern wheels, 17-inch, 18-inch. You just have to be very, very cognizant of the offset of the hub on the rims you choose, because if it's too shallow, you're going to have to put spacers on it to bring the wheel out to the edge of the car where it belongs, so it's not rubbing the inside of your wheel well. Or you don't want anything that is too tall, too big because the moment, even if you put the super tiny low profile tires on it, it's going to either look dumb or it's going to be hitting things that are important when you're going down the road, and you don't want to do that. Weather stripping. Weather strip, thankfully, now those are all the black soft rubber seals around the windshield, around the top, around the convertible top, all that stuff that you go, and it's soft. That's important because it keeps water out of your car. I've done some videos about weather strip on C4s in the past. What I want you to understand is the good stuff, the stuff that's made here in the United States, can cost anywhere from $500 to $700 for a set for your car, which that's not bad considering how important those are and how well they're made here in the States. The downside is the amount of labor that's involved in replacing them and the extra work you have to do adjusting your door glass to the new weather strip, adjusting your top mounting points to the new weather strip is very, very labor intensive and can take a great deal of time. If you're doing it yourself, it's going to be frustrating. You're going to learn a whole bunch of new 4-letter words while you do it. But if you're paying somebody to do it, that's where that can get really expensive. So if you're looking at a C4 and the weather strip looks like, you know, crispy critters everywhere and you can touch it and it crumbles, you know you're going to be in for several $100s worth of weather strip and several $100s, if not more, of labor to install it on the car and do the necessary adjustments. If those necessary adjustments aren't done, your car is going to leak badly. You have to make sure whoever's doing the job is qualified and knowledgeable enough to do the slight adjustments to the window angles and where it's located on the side of the car. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a worse leak than you had before you replaced the weather strip, which is no fun. C4 interiors. If you want to keep your interior all original and very nice, you can spend a boatload of money doing that. You know, fresh leather seats going to cost you about $1,200 mounted on fresh foam. Carpet, $600 to $700 plus install. Dash rebuilds, all that stuff can add up really, really quickly. Now, a lot of people, as I talked about in a previous video, are making use of their C4s and having a lot of fun with them by ignoring the Corvette rules and just gutting the car of all that expensive Corvette stuff and putting race seats in with non-power seat tracks, ripping out the carpet and putting bed liner in there, whatever they're doing to make cool track cars. And you can do that for far less than bringing it back to original factory specs. But again, I want you to understand, if you're buying a $3,500 car, that car could need, if you're wanting it to be nice, you could spend $3,500 or more again just on the interior. That's not counting paint, that's not counting mechanical leaks, that's not counting other problems. So be aware of that going in, okay? I don't want people to get the idea that they can buy a $3,500 Corvette and hit the road and do Route 66 and yeah, because odds are that's not the way it's going to be. And I don't want you to get a Corvette and be disappointed. That hurts the hobby, and I don't want to hurt the hobby. I'll just cover briefly the electronic problems in the cars. Again, no horror stories for you on this. I don't want to bore you with, oh, this, that, and the other. Just know that the electronics in those cars were developed 40 years ago. Now, if you can imagine how old that car is, 40 seems old. When you think about it in electronics age, 40 is like dinosaur time. So while those things tend to be fixable or rebuildable, finding the parts needed to do that job can be very, very difficult because they are so antiquated and so obsolete. Be aware of that. If you are an electronics whiz, you'll probably be okay because you'll know where to find that kind of thing. But most shops and certainly most private owners have absolutely no idea where to locate that stuff. You've got your engine management problems with the computers there because, again, same thing, 40-year-old computers, bad connections, brittle wires, blah, 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 blah. In sum, if you're going to buy a $3,500 Corvette, you need to have at least that amount, if not more, preferably more, put aside to put into it to make it safe, reliable, and make it healthy enough cooling-wise and fluids-wise to not hurt itself. That's not making it shiny. That's not making it a race car. That's not making it a show car. That's making it to where you can more or less reliably get in the car, turn the key, and go drive, start, stop, and do it safely. So don't think that you're going to buy a cheap Corvette and not have to put money into it. I promise you, you will. Currently, in today's world, the biggest problem you're going to have with any C4, especially a C4 that has intermittent problems or electronic problems, or it makes this funny noise sometimes and this one light blinks a little bit and I don't know why it's doing that, and there's a smell that I don't recognize. Even Corvette shops who specialize in just Corvettes are hesitant to take C4 jobs like that in for two reasons. Number one, shops who specialize in Corvettes and are well known and are well regarded are very, very busy. I am personally booking out for June here. That's June. I have no time between now and then. So scheduling is very important for me because I want to get your car in, I want to get repaired, I want to get it back to you, have you happy, have me paid, and on to the next car. That's the way that's supposed to work. When you go into a C4, especially anything electronic, there can be days and days and days of diagnosing, tearing apart the interior, looking for that one nicked wire, looking for something that got wet at some point and is covered in corrosion. There's no way to schedule for that because we're going in completely, putting on our mining helmets, going into the mine and going to work with our pickaxe in your car. We don't know how long it's going to take, and I can't schedule that. The other problem is that oftentimes people who've bought inexpensive Corvettes didn't have enough money put aside to pay for repairs, so they want their car to work, but you get halfway into their car and you're like, okay, so we've gone through the time that we agreed upon, here's where we're at, we think we can solve your problem, but it's going to cost you X amount more dollars in time to get to that point, and they don't have it. So now they're good people, they pay their bill, but their car isn't fixed. It's just, mechanics try to avoid those types of situations. And I don't know of anybody in the country who is specializing in C4 Corvette repair. Not specifically. I know that we do a lot with them, but there are a bunch of things, honestly, on those cars that I won't even address just because I know there's no way to make the customer happy in a reasonable amount of time for a predictable amount of money and still let me make enough profit to, eat and keep the lights on and stuff. So that's the biggest challenge today with C4s, is finding somebody knowledgeable who is willing to work on them. I have calls coming in from all over the country every day, people asking me, Lyle, where can I take my C4? Who's really good at this? I'm like, guys, here's 3 shops that I can see within 200 miles of you in my list of people. And they're like, yeah, I talked to all them. None of them want to take C4s in. I don't know what to do. So here's where you guys come in. If you own a C4 and you have somebody you trust that works on your C4 regularly and is competent and honest, let me know about it in the comments below. That way I can share it with other people, because I'm pretty proud of our skill set here, and I'm very proud of the way we do business with honesty and integrity. And if I can find some people around the country that I can direct other Corvette owners to who share that philosophy, I'm absolutely in for it. So leave that information in the comments below. Remember, bottom line, you buy the cheap Corvette, you need to have at least what you paid for the Corvette set aside, if not more, for the things that it's going to need. If you do that, you'll probably be okay and still be able to enjoy it, and that's what these cars are all about. At least that's what they're supposed to be about. All right? You guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Take care.